Here, if you have a tree and you have fruits and you're not happy with the fruits, a lot of people would attempt to fix this by focusing on the fruit directly. And so all your efforts, new pesticides, whatever could you do to fix it would go toward the fruit itself. Now, what you would realize very quickly is that perhaps it would improve a bit, but not that much. Because as anyone would know, the problem is not with the fruit. The fruit is a consequence of the tree, of the roots of the tree, where they stand, how healthy it is, which then leads to the outward aspect of the tree that you see. Now, the reason why I bring this is that on a tree, we very simply be like, yeah, let's focus on the soil, on the roots, and if we fix that, if we fix the tree, we will get good fruit. Now, we look at a tree and we recognize that, but when you look at someone's efforts, and most people nowadays, I'm going to put here in the middle of the screen, are after more money, normal. I'm going to put a better level of fitness, like physique. So I'm going to do this. Perhaps a little heart, better relationships. This somewhat encompasses in some way or another what people are after nowadays. Sort of the external rewards. And a lot of times what we do is that we look at, oh, I don't have too much money, or I don't look that fit, I'm not happy with my relationships, and we look at the outward consequence of results that we're getting at the fruit, and we say, okay, let me fix this. So I'm making only 1,000 euros per month, so let me look at this amount and let me now, how can I make more of this within the constraint I find myself in, within the sort of tree I find myself in. Same for all of these. What we don't realize is that what got us in these positions of how much money I have, how fit I am, relationships, all of our lives, is who we are. It's the tree, us. The fruits that we deliver, that we get, are just a consequence of who we are. If I change the person completely and put them in the same exact circumstance and give it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, it will change completely. Not because of luck, not because of anything else other than that the tree is different. And because the tree is different, so will the fruits be. And so when we look at the practical aspect of changing the tree ourselves, the roots, focusing on that, we have to recognize that it starts by realizing that it's not with quick hacks and no bullshit tricks and new methods and things like that that will work. They may work for a little bit, so perhaps you can get luckier somewhat, and on your money you found a new course, a new thing, and now you're like, oh, I found it, and things get a little better for a little bit. But what one must recognize is that even if they do get better for a little bit, likely they won't be forever. Because once this kind of fades away, once the magical product fades away, and it's time for new fruits to come, the new season, for you to keep progressing, you won't be able to. Because you are not that person. You found a little hack for it for a little bit, but it wasn't sustainable. And you'll see, a lot of people will feel like sometimes you'll get a bit of success, but it doesn't feel like it will last. It's like you built on sand. And when you build on sand, it just takes a little push for everything to fall. And so when we're talking about fixing the roots, fixing the tree, is instead of looking to the external side of things, instead of looking at the amount of money you're making right now and how to improve that directly, it's looking at who is making that money and realizing that before the results come, other things arrive or need to arrive. The discipline must come. You need to become a more disciplined person, and this cannot be hacked. You need to become a more, I'm going to put here, kind person. And there's no hacks for this. You need to become a more courageous person. And once again, there are no hacks for this. And the reason why there are no hacks for this, and I'm going to just group them here, is because fundamentally, to be kind, to be disciplined, to be courageous are simple choices that have one of two outcomes. You either are courageous or you're not. There's no gray in between. When presented with the chance, with the opportunity, when it arrives, you either take the courageous chance or the not courageous chance. The disciplined approach or the undisciplined approach. And it is true for every sort of virtue that we must hold if we are to not only increase the fruits that we're getting, but to make sure it is sustainable. That we can go through the different seasons of, because you're not always delivering fruit, that of building it up, getting, the new leaves, and then eventually the fruit delivering, and then being ready for that. And one must develop these. And to develop these, because they are simple choices, where you either do or don't, you have, what's the word in English? You have to fully adopt them. It can be something that you turn on and off, and it doesn't work like that, because someone that, for example, is kind, always is kind, and they cannot not be kind. If they pass by the homeless person asking for money and they look and they generally feel like this person needs help, they cannot walk past without giving money. And if they don't have money, they're gonna be feeling bad about that. And perhaps they will go get money and then give to that person, because they are fundamentally kind. And so most of the times, not always of course, but most of the times they will act how they are. And that's really what defines us, is what do we do by default? Now, to develop these, I'm going to use a good quote here by Naval Ravikant, which is, I believe it's by him, that everything can be learned, but not everything can be taught. And what this means is that these, how it applies here, is that these cannot be learned by simply finding a new program or book or whatever it may be that gives you 10 steps to work over the course of 3 weeks, and now all of a sudden you are kind forever, or you're courageous or disciplined forever. It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work like that because it's not about the complexity of it, because these are these are simple things. It's simple. It's yes or no. And so it's about when that moment of decision arrives, how do I change that? How do I change to become the person that says yes to what I have to say yes to? Now, the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to follow your intuition where it's trying to lead you, because it will force you to learn these things. Through, obviously, a lot of uncomfortable situations. You can expect to acquire anything that becomes fundamental to you without suffering a bit to get there. And so, a lot of times, it will have to be out of necessity. Situations that will require of you to be these things for a long period of time until it really clicks with you. Now, as you do that, and as you live, there is some information that I suggest to you, some books, but not the usual kind. Not the self-help kind, even though there's plenty of great in these categories, or courses or anything like that. What I suggest to you, I'm gonna put here where I have space. What I suggest to you are going to be fiction, biography, and history books. Try to get the good ones, if you can, of course. And the reason why I suggest these is because they don't teach you any of this directly, they don't give you steps, but they show it to you. They, in a way, teach you in a different way, where it is they show you why it matters that the character adopt these virtues, the struggles that it brings them first, and what they have to overcome, and then at the end, the rewards for it. The true rewards, not just the, oh, now they're richer, oh, now they're super strong, not just that, but the true rewards, the ones that in a lot of ways are outside of yourself and how they serve the people around them. And the reason why this is so important, why I suggest, is because if there's not an understanding of why this matters, if in your mind it's not clear, you will not adopt these things. Because if we're only looking at the external side of things, you would adopt maybe discipline or some things, and then you would not be moral at all. If you just want to make more money, you would, screw over whoever you have to screw over. You would just do everything you have to do, essentially, not to get too much into it. And you see this in some of the biggest companies. They have some of the largest corruption, disgusting scandals that have ever existed, because they don't care about the things that have to be added to the more strong type of virtues we have here. And that's why it's so important that you understand why, because otherwise you would be able to fix some of these, but it would always be somewhat rotten. It would never fulfill you at all, because you would know that, yes, I'm getting the rewards, but I'm being a bad person as I do it. Now, as you live your life, and that's the key here, as you experience things, as you follow your intuition and put yourself in positions that will force you to learn these things, and as you get inspiration and understand better why it is important to adopt these, and as you fix the roots of the tree, then as you do that is when it makes sense the more specific, recent, more modern type of information. Because we all have to learn. Of course, you can't just follow your intuition and you'll figure it out all by yourself, because first of all, it just doesn't make sense. You have to be a bit more humble than that, and you have to realize that there's a lot of people before you that already paved the way. So you don't need to do it alone. You shouldn't do it alone, but you shouldn't mistake things. Because no matter how skilled at a specific skill you get, at, I don't know, playing basketball or being a scientist, at whatever it may be, that is never going to be enough. And it may get you a bit better in some of these things, but what we have to recognize, and that's what I'm trying to get at with this, is that these are not all that there is to life. They're part of it, but it should be bigger, but I don't have space. There's a much bigger side of life than these things. And one of those that I'm going to touch on now is how you get these things and who you are as you get these things. Because what does money serve you? A lot of money serve you if you didn't serve anyone with it. It doesn't matter. It becomes empty. You realize that you sold your soul for nothing. And that's what we have to realize here. And we have to realize that we fix the roots and we fix the tree not just to get good fruit, but because we want to live a good life, being as good as people as we can. Because otherwise, these will never fulfill you. You can never fulfill an infinite desire with finite material things. It is plainly impossible. And so what you have to recognize is that as you go and you get these things, is that what you get serves as much as you can give away as well. And so, as it's getting a bit scattered, focus on the roots, fix the tree, and then wait as the fruit fixes itself through who you are and the actions you're having. Get inspired by fiction, by biographies, by historical books, and really understand why it matters that you become a better person. And as you do that, in the pursuit of your choice, following your intuition, battling all the challenges that are required for you to become disciplined and kind and courageous and all these things, then go ahead and focus on the information, focus on the details, recognizing that no information, no details will solve your life for you. So whenever you're being sold on hopes and dreams, recognize that it will not deliver, because hopes and dreams should be who you are and not what you're getting. So keep that in mind, and I hope that makes sense.